Aries, let me ask you something. Why this message? Why now? And why does it feel like your chest tightened just a little when you press play? You're not here by accident. And no, this isn't about luck. This is about a season ending, and another one quietly lining up behind it. If you've been noticing signs you can't explain, if your nights feel different, if part of you feels calm, while another part knows something is coming, that's not impatience anymore. That's readiness. Aries, you didn't survive what you went through just to stay where you are. Take a breath. Stay with me. And before we go any further, comment below one word you feel right now, because what comes next might explain everything. Stay with me for a moment, Aries. Not the version of you that rushes ahead, but the quieter one, the one that rarely speaks, but feels everything. Right now, it's not about answers. It's about awareness. There's a reason the world feels slightly different when you slow down. As if the air has more weight, as if silence is no longer empty but full. You might not be able to explain it, but something inside you already knows. This isn't the kind of moment that arrives with noise. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It arrives gently, almost respectfully, waiting to see if you'll notice. And maybe that's the first shift, not outside of you, but within. Because for a long time, Aries, your strength came from movement, from pushing, from surviving storms by charging straight through them. But lately, you've been learning a different kind of power. The power of restraint, the strength of pausing before reacting, the courage it takes to stay present when walking away would be easier. You didn't lose your fire, you refined it. What you're feeling now isn't anticipation, it's alignment. That calm in your chest isn't emptiness, it's space. Space that had to be created before anything meaningful could enter. And here's something most people never realize. Big shifts don't rush in, they approach slowly, as if they're making sure you're steady enough to receive them. You didn't arrive here by chance. You arrived here because every delay taught you something essential. Every closed door trained your discernment. Every moment of frustration shaped your judgment. Even the silence had a purpose. It taught you how to listen without demanding, how to trust without forcing, how to breathe without control, and now, without needing proof. You sense it. Not excitement, not fear, readiness. The kind that doesn't need to be validated, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Just a quiet knowing, like standing at the edge of dawn, not yet light, not fully dark, but unmistakably morning. This is the moment before movement, before the door opens, before something long prepared finally finds its way to you. And notice this. You're not reaching for it anymore. You're standing still, grounded, clear, open. That alone tells a story about how far you've come. So, take another breath here. Let the stillness settle. Let the noise fade just a little more. Because what I'm about to say next isn't meant for everyone. It never was. Not everyone hears this. And not everyone stops long enough to recognize it, but you did. And that's why this moment matters. Let me talk to you the way I would if we were sitting alone. No rush, no noise, just you and this moment. You may have noticed it quietly slipping into your life, not loudly, not dramatically. More like a soft tapping on the inside of your awareness. Easy to ignore if you move too fast. Impossible to unfeel once you slow down. The signs didn't arrive to impress you, they came to remind you. A number you keep seeing, a song that finds you at the exact right second. Dreams that feel clearer than the day that follows them. Not visions, not predictions, just impressions that linger longer than they should. And then there's that feeling. Hard to describe. A strange mix of calm and anticipation. Not anxiety, not excitement. Something steadier. Like standing still while the ground beneath you subtly shifts. You're not moving, but you know you won't be standing here much longer. That's what's different now. Aries energy usually moves first and understands later. Action has always been your language, motion your medicine. But this time, you didn't jump. You paused. And that pause wasn't weakness, it was wisdom forming. You stopped asking the universe to hurry, stopped demanding clarity on your timeline, stopped pushing every door just to see which one would open. Instead, you listened. You let silence answer you in its own way. You let patterns speak instead of forcing meaning. You trusted that what was meant to reach you would not need chasing. That's when the shift happened. Not outside of you, inside. Because wanting comes from lack, but readiness comes from grounding. And lately, you haven't felt empty. You've felt prepared. Prepared in a way that doesn't need validation. Prepared without the need to prove anything to anyone. You didn't announce it. You didn't even name it. You simply became quieter, more selective with your energy, more honest with your boundaries. That's how readiness shows up. It doesn't rush. It doesn't beg. It doesn't perform. It waits. And here's something important. Something not enough people talk about. The universe doesn't respond to urgency the way it responds to alignment. Pressure creates resistance. Stillness creates space. You created space. By letting go of the version of yourself that needed immediate results. By releasing the habit of measuring your worth by speed. By choosing presence over pursuit. That's why things feel closer now. Not louder, closer. Like something circling gently instead of crashing in. Like a door that doesn't slam open but unlocks quietly. You're not being tested anymore. You've already passed that stage. This moment is about recognition, about noticing how far you've come without needing a dramatic sign to confirm it. And as this awareness settles in, something else begins to rise. Not urgency, not expectation, trust. The kind that doesn't ask when, the kind that simply knows. So, stay right here with me for a second longer. In this calm, in this space you've created. Because once you recognize readiness, the next movement doesn't need to be forced. It reveals itself, naturally. Let me tell you something gently, Aries. Not as a lesson, not as a warning, just as a truth you're finally ready to hear. What's happening now isn't sudden. It only feels that way because you're standing at the edge of it. For a long time, you thought strength meant speed, that winning meant pushing harder, that if you slowed down, you'd lose momentum. But life had other plans for you. It kept placing pauses in your path. Moments where your usual fire couldn't solve the problem. Situations where reacting only made things worse. At first, that felt unbearable. Like being asked to hold back the very thing that defines you. But those pauses were never punishment. They were training. You were learning how to sit with discomfort without exploding. How to feel frustration without letting it drive the wheel. How to stay present when the instinct was to fight or flee. And that changed you. Not on the surface, deeper. You started to recognize that true power isn't loud. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to prove itself. It holds its ground. Every disappointment you walked through sharpened your discernment. Every delay taught you restraint. Every quiet season forced you to build inner structure instead of external victories. You didn't lose your edge. You gained direction. There was a time when you would have accepted any opportunity that looked like a win, even if it cost you peace, even if it pulled you off course. But that version of you no longer exists. Now, you pause before committing. You listen before deciding. You feel into the energy before stepping forward. That's not hesitation. That's maturity. And maturity is the language of trust, because big things require steady hands. They need clarity. They need someone who knows when to act and when to wait. You've learned both. You learned that discipline doesn't weaken your fire. It focuses it. That boundaries don't limit your freedom. They protect it. And those silent stretches you once questioned, they built something solid inside you, something unshakable. That's why the door didn't open sooner. Not because you weren't worthy, but because you were still becoming. Becoming someone who could receive without losing themselves. Someone who could hold more without needing to dominate or control. Someone who could win without burning everything down in the process. Now you're standing differently, breathing differently, seeing differently. You're no longer chasing the outcome. You're aligned with the process. And alignment changes everything. This is the moment when preparation meets permission. When the work you did in private finally creates space for something public. When the fire that once reacted now responds. You didn't force this opening. You earned it quietly. So, if it feels like something is beginning to loosen, if it feels like resistance is giving way without effort, that's not coincidence, that's timing. And as this awareness settles into your body, notice how calm you feel. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything that needed to happen already did. From here, movement won't feel chaotic. It will feel intentional. And what comes next won't ask you to rush. It will ask you to trust the version of yourself you've become. Stay with me. Because once the inner work is complete, the outer shift follows naturally. There's something I want you to notice now, Aries. Something subtle, something easy to miss if you're not paying attention. Your life hasn't been moving the way it used to. Not fast, not explosive, not urgent. And that confused you for a while, because speed has always felt natural to you. Momentum has always been your language. When something mattered, you moved. When it didn't, you burned past it. But lately, the pace changed. Not because you lost direction, but because you were being slowed on purpose. At first, that slowness felt like resistance. Like the universe was holding you back. Like doors were taking too long to respond. But what if that wasn't delay? What if it was design? There are seasons where movement builds character, and there are seasons where stillness builds capacity. This was the second kind. You were asked to walk instead of run, to wait without knowing why, to trust the ground even when it felt quiet beneath your feet. That wasn't easy for you. It went against your nature. But slowly, something shifted. You stopped fighting the pace. You stopped trying to outrun the silence. You started listening to it. And in that listening, you learned patience that wasn't passive. You learned presence that didn't feel like weakness. You learned how to stay grounded even when nothing seemed to be happening. That's how foundations are built, not in noise, but in repetition, in quiet commitment, in days that look ordinary but shape everything underneath. Here's the part no one tells you. When something is being prepared to move suddenly, it first has to be stabilized completely. The slower the process, the stronger the structure. That's why this stage couldn't be rushed. Not for you, because when your moment comes, it won't ask for hesitation. It won't allow half-readiness. It will require clarity. And you're almost there. You may not see motion yet, but you can feel pressure changing, like the air before a storm, like the pause before a door unlocks. This is the rhythm you're stepping into now, slowly, until suddenly. Not chaos, not collapse. Alignment. Things that felt frozen will begin to respond. Conversations will shift tone. Opportunities will surface without force. Not because you chased them, but because you stayed present long enough to be ready when they arrived. And when it happens, it won't feel loud. It will feel obvious, like a click, like something snapping into place after a long, quiet wait. You won't need to rush forward, you'll simply step in. Because the slowness taught you discernment. It taught you timing. It taught you when to act and when to hold. That's why what comes next won't overwhelm you. It will meet you at the exact level you've grown into. So, if you're wondering why things haven't exploded yet, why the breakthrough feels close but not here, why everything seems to be hovering just beneath the surface, this is why. You're in the final stretch of stillness, the kind that comes right before movement. Stay grounded here. Don't rush this moment away. Because once the pace shifts, it won't slow down again. And as this awareness settles in, as the quiet starts to feel purposeful instead of empty, you'll realize something important. The sudden part doesn't arrive randomly. It arrives because the slow part did its job. And now, Aries, you're standing right at that threshold. Just breathe and stay with me. Because from here, everything begins to move. There is something important I want you to hear now. Not loudly, not dramatically, just clearly. What is approaching you is not only about numbers, not only about income, not only about something landing in your hands. Those things matter, they help, they support life. But they are not the center of this shift. What is opening for you is choice. And that may sound small until you realize how rare it has been in your life. For a long time, you moved because you had to. You accepted situations because resistance felt too costly. You stayed in places that drained you because survival came first. You did what needed to be done. You carried responsibility. You pushed through. That was strength, but it was not freedom. And freedom is what your spirit has been quietly asking for. The ability to pause and decide. The space to say yes without pressure. The permission to say no without guilt. That is the real breakthrough. Money can create options, but clarity allows you to choose the right one. What is forming now is not a rush of opportunity that overwhelms you. It is a widening of your inner ground, a sense that you finally have room to move without forcing direction. You may notice it already, in the way you no longer chase approval, in how certain paths no longer tempt you, in how your body relaxes when you imagine choosing differently. That is alignment speaking. You are stepping into a season where your life responds to your values, not to urgency, not to fear, not to old survival patterns. And that changes everything. Because when choice returns, dignity returns with it. Self-respect returns. peace returns. You begin to design your days instead of reacting to them. You begin to protect your energy instead of spending it everywhere. You begin to recognize that rest is not laziness, but wisdom. This is not about escaping responsibility. It is about carrying it consciously. You will still show up, still lead, still act. But now your actions come from intention, not pressure. That is why this moment feels different from every other opportunity before it. It does not pull you forward, it invites you in. You are not being asked to prove anything. You are being trusted to choose what supports your growth, trusted to walk away from what costs too much, trusted to build a life that feels honest on the inside. That kind of freedom creates ripple effects far beyond you. When you live from choice, you listen better. You speak with more care. You become steadier for the people around you. You stop repeating cycles. You stop reacting from old wounds. You become a quiet example of what grounded strength looks like. That is the gift hidden inside this shift. So, if you feel less desperate for outcomes lately, that is not loss of ambition. It is evolution. You are no longer chasing survival. You are choosing direction. And direction guided by calm lasts longer than momentum driven by fear. Take a breath here. Let that settle. Because once you understand what this breakthrough truly brings, the next layer reveals itself naturally. And it begins even closer to you than you expect. There is a softness settling into you now, Aries. You may not have named it yet, but you feel it. It shows up in the way your shoulders drop when nothing needs to be proven, in the way your breath deepens when you stop explaining yourself, in the quiet confidence that no longer asks for permission to exist. For a long time, effort defined you. You pushed because you had to. You fought because standing still felt dangerous. Every step forward carried the weight of justification, as if you had to earn rest, as if you had to earn peace. But something has shifted beneath the surface. You are no longer trying to convince the world that you belong here. You know it now, not intellectually, in your body. You know how much you have carried. You know the nights you stayed awake. You know the choices you made when no one was watching, and that knowing has changed the way you stand in your life. You are not waiting for approval anymore, not from people, not from outcomes, not even from time. That is what readiness looks like. It is not loud confidence. It is quiet permission. You stopped asking when because you stopped doubting if. You stopped rushing because you stopped fearing loss. You stopped forcing because you finally trusted yourself to recognize what is meant for you. That trust opens doors that effort never could. When you are no longer trying to prove worth, you create space. And space is where things flow. Opportunities do not need to fight their way to you now. They find you naturally, not because you chase them, but because you are open enough to receive without tension. There is no hunger in you anymore, only clarity, and clarity is magnetic. You do not need to be perfect for what is arriving. Perfection was never the requirement, maturity was. The ability to receive without guilt, to accept support without suspicion, to allow goodness without immediately preparing for loss. That is the work you have already done. You have learned how to stay grounded when things go well, how to remain generous without self-sacrifice, how to hold abundance without gripping it too tightly. This is what it means to be ready. Ready does not mean everything is finished. It means you are no longer fragmented. Your thoughts align with your actions. Your values align with your choices. Your inner world finally supports your outer movement. That alignment sends a clear signal, not desperation, not demand, availability. And life responds to that differently. You may notice that things no longer arrive with chaos attached. There is less urgency, less noise, more ease. Even when movement begins, it feels steady, guided, measured. This is not the kind of receiving that overwhelms you. It supports you. You are not being handed something to prove yourself again. You are being entrusted with something because you no longer need to. So if you feel calm instead of excited, that makes sense. If you feel grounded instead of restless, that makes sense. This is not adrenaline, it is alignment. Take a moment to feel that in your body. The absence of pressure, the quiet readiness. Because when proving ends, receiving begins. And when receiving begins, the next layer unfolds on its own. Not loudly, not suddenly, but clearly. And as you stay present with this feeling, you will notice that what comes next does not ask you to change who you are. It simply asks you to keep showing up as the person you have become. There is something else unfolding now, Aries, and it is quieter than you expected. What is coming is not asking you to celebrate yet. It is asking you to notice who you are becoming while you receive it, because this shift was never meant to stop at you. For a long time, your focus was survival, getting through, holding your ground, protecting your fire, and that was necessary. But now that the pressure has softened, something new rises in its place: awareness. You begin to see how your presence affects a room, how people listen differently when you speak, how your calm carries more weight than your urgency ever did. You are not louder, you are steadier, and that steadiness changes things. You do not need to rescue anyone. You do not need to fix lives. That was never your role. What matters now is how you show up, how you move through the world when you are no longer proving yourself, how you treat others when you are no longer defending your worth. Responsibility does not arrive as burden here. It arrives as influence, the kind you did not ask for, the kind that grows naturally when integrity becomes visible. People will feel safer around you, not because you have answers, but because you do not rush them. They will sense something solid in you, not dominance, not control, ground. And that ground becomes permission for others to stand in their own truth. This is how impact really works, not through force, not through preaching, but through embodiment. You become an example without trying, a reminder that strength can be calm, that leadership can be quiet, that confidence does not need performance. You will notice it in small moments, in conversations that linger longer, in silences that feel comfortable instead of awkward, in the way people open up without being asked. That is responsibility, not obligation, presence. And it asks something simple from you, not perfection, not sacrifice, consistency, living from the values you earned during the harder seasons, honoring your boundaries even when it would be easier to bend, choosing clarity over reaction. When you do that, you contribute without effort, you steady without strain, you uplift without carrying. That is how cycles change, not through dramatic acts, but through grounded individuals choosing not to repeat old patterns. You have already done the hardest part. You faced yourself. You refined your impulses. You learned when to act and when to wait. Now, the world responds differently to you. And here is something important to hold gently. Responsibility does not mean wait. It means trust. Life is trusting you with more because you are no longer consumed by it, because you know how to hold without gripping, because you understand that influence begins inside. This is not about becoming someone new. It is about standing fully as who you already are. So if this moment feels quieter than expected, that makes sense. Real impact does not announce itself. It settles. It roots. It spreads slowly. And as you continue forward from this place, something subtle will become clear. You are no longer walking just for yourself. You are walking as proof that growth is possible. That steadiness can follow fire. That power can be kind. Let that awareness sit with you. No pressure, no rush, because once you accept this role without forcing it, the final understanding arrives naturally, and it will change how you hold everything that comes next. So, stay right here with me, Aries. Just for this breath, just for this pause. There is nothing you need to rush toward anymore. Nothing you need to brace for. Nothing you need to defend. This moment is not asking you to move. It is asking you to soften. For so long, your hands were clenched, holding on, protecting, gripping what felt uncertain. That grip kept you alive. It carried you through seasons that required strength over grace, and it did its job. But you are not there anymore. Now, life is asking for something different. Not effort, not strategy. Trust. Trust does not mean letting go of yourself. It means letting go of tension, of the belief that everything must be controlled to be safe. You can feel it now, in the way your body responds when you imagine ease, in how your breath slows when you stop planning 10 steps ahead. This is not the calm before a fight. It is the calm after one. You have already proven yourself in ways no one else saw. You have already earned your place through resilience and restraint. There is no test left here, only permission. Permission to receive without guilt. Permission to accept support without suspicion. Permission to open your hands without fear of losing what matters. When you whisper, "I am ready," you are not making a demand. You are making space. Space for alignment to step forward. Space for what has been quietly forming to finally land. Space for a new rhythm that does not exhaust you. You are not stepping into something unfamiliar. You are stepping into what has been preparing you all along. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about finally living as yourself without armor. And notice this. There is no urgency attached to what is coming, no pressure to act immediately, no voice telling you to hurry before it disappears. What is meant for you is not fragile. It does not require force. It responds to openness. That is why this ending feels gentle, not dramatic, not loud. Real beginnings often do. You are allowed to receive slowly, to integrate instead of react, to let goodness arrive without questioning its permanence. This is how cycles close, not with noise, but with understanding. The old patterns do not need to be fought anymore. They fade when they are no longer fed, and you have outgrown them. So, if all you do today is breathe deeper, that is enough. If all you do is choose not to doubt yourself, that is enough. If all you do is rest your hands open instead of clenched, that is enough. This moment does not ask for action, it asks for presence. Because presence is what allows the next chapter to meet you naturally, without resistance, without struggle. And as you move forward from here, quietly, steadily, remember this. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not missing anything. You are exactly where readiness turns into receiving. Stay open, stay grounded, stay kind to yourself. Because what is approaching you does not require a battle. It only requires that you allow it to arrive. Before you go, Aries, listen to this one last thing. If something in you shifted while listening, even just a little, that wasn't imagination. That was recognition. You didn't come here to be convinced. You came here because a part of you already knew that the waiting wasn't punishment, knew that the slowing down wasn't failure, knew that this season has been shaping you for something more aligned, and now you're standing differently. Not louder, not harder, just clearer. That's how real breakthroughs begin, not with noise, but with certainty. So, if this message spoke to you, don't rush past it. Pause for a moment. Let it land. And if you feel it in your chest right now, type one simple word in the comments, ready. Not for me, for yourself. Because when you speak readiness out loud, you anchor it inside. And if this space feels safe, if this message felt like it was meant for you, stay connected. Subscribe, not just for more messages, but to stay in this frequency where growth is calm and strength is grounded. This channel isn't about hype, it's about alignment. About becoming steady enough to receive what's meant for you without losing yourself. Aries, trust yourself. You've earned that. The journey doesn't end here. This was only the moment you stopped fighting it. The next message is already forming. And when it finds you, you'll understand why this one came first. Until then, stay open, stay grounded. And remember, you are not late. You are right on time.